Here's a big question we hear all the time. Do I have to agree with everything in the Bible in order to follow Jesus? Some people might be nervous to ask this question. They're worried that they might be judged or looked down upon, but we don't think that this question comes from a place of stubbornness or rebellion. We think it actually comes from people who care, from people who have a deep desire to embrace the way of Jesus, but feel a bit leery about some of the things that they see in Scripture, particularly in the Old Testament. Things like violence, misogyny, racism, slavery, or dated sexual ethics. Remember, no conversation is off limits here at Neighborhood Church, so let's talk about it. First, the Bible is an ancient and diverse collection of writings. We're talking about 66 books written by 40 different authors over 1,500 years across 13 countries and 3 languages. So to put it simply, these writings reflect the unique experiences of various people groups over a lengthy period of history. And this includes their understanding of God and how He engages with our world. The Bible is not a monolithic document with a single clear message on every single issue. It contains poetry and laws and narratives and letters and apocalyptic literature, each with its own context and purpose. But sometimes, the church has treated the Bible like a spiritual encyclopedia or a moralistic textbook. And that when we demand uniformity in the Bible that doesn't actually exist, it leads to a rigid, literalistic approach to Scripture that doesn't honor its complexity and diversity. And following Jesus in the historic Christian tradition is fundamentally about a real relationship with Him. It's recognizing Jesus as the embodiment of God's love and His grace. And it's about being transformed by that relationship and living in a way that reflects His teachings and His character. And Jesus Himself engaged with the Hebrew Scriptures, our Old Testament, in a way that was sometimes affirming, sometimes challenging, but always insightful. And Jesus went beyond the letter of the law to its spirit. He emphasized love and mercy and justice. And this is important to recognize, that His approach to Scripture is a model for us. It shows us that studying the Bible is not about unquestioning agreement about everything, but instead thoughtful and discerning engagement. And here's what we think that means. It means struggling with parts of the Bible is just a normal part of our faith journey. There are texts that are difficult or troubling or maybe even seem contradictory. And this doesn't mean we dismiss or ignore those parts, but instead we engage with them honestly, that we try to understand the original context, and we try to learn the author's original intent, and we imagine how these scriptures might speak to us today. And sometimes that means wrestling with the text, and sometimes it means acknowledging our own limited understanding. We don't think that the Bible is meant to be this rule book or answer key for every question we might have today. Instead, it's a sacred space where we meet Jesus, even in the midst of our struggles and our doubts. And it's a conversation partner on our spiritual journey. It's not a dictator. So back to our question. No, you don't need to agree with everything in the Bible to follow Jesus. Instead, what's required is a willingness to engage with Scripture honestly and openly, to let it challenge and change you, to seek Jesus across its pages. Remember, faith is a journey, not a destination. It's about growing and learning and being transformed by divine love through the way of Jesus.